Hello, and welcome to the second part of our Working Together to Solve Problems presentation. In the first section, we reviewed all of the items that parents need to consider before engaging their child in this process. Now we will examine the steps involved in using problem exploration with our children. Although, as we discussed in part 1 of the presentation, you have taken time to think through the situation, this may be the first time your child has stopped to think about the issue. As such, you need to have a conversation with your child, but do not start the discussion if you're stressed for time. Select a relatively quiet time to start the dialogue. You can even make a date with them to talk. For example,
Connor, after dinner I'd like us to take some time to talk. Will you be finished your work by then?
When you meet, you need to introduce the topic in a clear and unemotional way. In our scenario, the mother may introduce the situation by saying,
Connor, I want to talk about what happens when you go bicycling and come home after our agreed-upon time.
You want to give the child an opportunity to talk about his feelings first. Connor's mother can add,
Can you tell me how you feel about when that happens?
Don't rush. Only when a child feels heard and understood will he be able to consider your feelings. Understand that some children may take some time to start talking about their feelings. For some, because they aren't sure how they feel, and for others because they need to feel safe before they open up. If they're used to your getting angry about the topic, they may be more hesitant to share their thoughts. Give them time and stay calm. You can always give them a chance to offer their insights later on in the process. Next, briefly talk about your feelings. You need to keep this part short and clear. It can be hard for a child to hear a parent go on and on about his feelings, worries, anger, resentment, and so on. In our example, Connor might say, I'm having fun and I hate to stop to have to come home. Or, I need more time to unwind after school. Or, I don't mean to be late, I just lose track of time. Or, right when I have to come home, my friends are just coming out. The mother might say that,
I get really worried that something may have happened to you. I feel like I can't trust you to keep your word. Sometimes it messes up my schedule for the rest of the night when homework time gets pushed back.
At this point, you would summarize the conversation.
You have a hard time coming home on time, in part because you're having fun with your friends who have just come outside, in part because you want more time to unwind, and in part because you lose track of time. At the same time, I feel worried that something could have happened to you, and I'm frustrated because you aren't doing what we agreed to, and it makes the rest of our evening so much more difficult.
After we have explored the feelings and hopefully probed deeper than the initial anger, we can work to generate possible solutions, even those that seem quite outside the box. This step can be fun and creative. First, invite your child to work on finding a mutually acceptable solution. Let the child come up with the first few ideas. Remember that some children will need more time than others to start thinking of ideas. Again, make sure you have the time and the patience. Next, refrain from evaluating or commenting on any of those ideas. At this point, all ideas are welcome. Additionally, you want to write down the ideas, no matter how crazy or implausible they may be. Writing gives dignity to each contribution the child makes. This step helps our children to learn how to think, not what to think, and it also helps them to become independent and creative problem solvers. In our scenario, the mother might say,
Let's come up with some solutions that would fix our problem. You go first.
While the possible solutions are endless, we are generating a few that this fictitious mother and son team generated. We'll give you a moment to look them over. Now that you have your list of possible solutions, you need to get down to work with your child and evaluate your options. First, decide which ideas you like and which you don't, and which you want to put into action. You want to be careful about criticizing or putting down their ideas again that you don't like. So instead of,
That one won't work,
describe your personal reactions with,
I wouldn't be comfortable with that because.
So for example,
I wouldn't be comfortable with giving you as much time as you want, because sometimes I need to be somewhere at a certain time, so we're not always flexible with time.
or
That sounds like something I'd be all right with.
After going through a process like we just described, Connor and his mother look back over their list of possible solutions and pick the following.
Connor will ride by the house and tell Mom if he wants more time. Connor completes some of his homework before he can ride his bicycle. Connor will go out later when his friends are out.
The next step is to implement a plan. In many ways, this is the most important step because we are clarifying our decisions and making sure that both sides agree. When making a specific plan, consider what steps do we have to take to get this plan in motion, who will be responsible for what, and by when shall we have it done. It's critical that you insist that your child be trustworthy and follow through on his agreements. He should think before he selects or agrees to a solution. The message needs to be,
in our family, we keep our word.
In this situation, Mom and Connor pull together the following plan.
Connor will complete 15 minutes of homework before he rides his bike. He can go out for 30 minutes. If he wants more time, he'll ride home to ask his mom if it's okay for their schedule for him to stay out for another 30 minutes.
Also important in setting up your plan is to include what the consequence will be for noncompliance. Connor and his mom decide that if Connor does not abide by this agreement, he cannot ride his bicycle the next day. The final step is to evaluate the effectiveness of the solution. Set a specific time to evaluate the effectiveness of the plan. In this case, Connor and Mom will evaluate the plan after 1 week. Next, be ready and willing to make changes as needed. While it would be great if our first plan worked, often it is the start of an ongoing process that keeps us working with our children. We may need to refine the plan if it doesn't work for either us or our children. We also may need to revisit the issue as our children grow and mature. So, thinking about problem exploration, you can see that it is a process whose goal really is to help our children to see problems as challenges, not as something negative and destructive. A lot of the value in problem exploration is in the process of exploring and defining and getting clear about the problem, and also in the process of working together with our children to come up with mutually acceptable solutions for problems. We can model and teach our children how to approach and to solve problems with confidence. In the end, they will learn an essential life skill that they will be able to use in all facets of their life as they grow into adulthood. For other on-demand parenting topics or for more information about the Center for Parenting Education, please visit our website. Thank you for joining us.